Hello, Feuzion Nation. My name is Alex Fuse, the host of Feuzion News. Today is January 12th, 2018, and we have another big show for you right now. But before I introduce my next guest, are you a subscriber of Feuzion News? And if not, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button right now to join the Fuse Nation, and once we hit 600 subscribers, I will be doing a special giveaway. Now, without further ado, my next guest on tonight's show is James Allen, Times Union sports reporter in upstate New York. James, how are you doing tonight?
Good, Alex. How you doing?
Good. I want to say thanks again for coming on my show. And Joe Girard III became the all-time Section 2 scoring record. He broke the record last night with defeating Schuylerville. What was your reaction when you saw the news to that, and what's next for Joe Girard?
Alex, it's been quite a junior season for him, and it's kind of scary to think about what he's been able to do in 11 games this year. He's averaging 48.5 points per game. He has not been below 44 in any of the 11 games he's played. He's been between 44 and 60 in all of them. And he's had 3 straight 50-point games to break the Section 2 record that Kobe Lufkin set a couple of years ago. It's just been amazing. This is the guy who was a starter, the leading scorer on the team as an 8th grader. And he's incrementally just gotten better and better in terms of scoring. A lot more responsibility for him as a scorer this year because 4 starters. And the center that they thought they were going to have this year that was on the team last year as a reserve was almost 6'10", moved to Texas, so he doesn't have that inside presence that he thought he was going to have this year. And then Aaron Sampson, who was backup guard in the football team, he wound up not getting hurt, and he's not playing. So they put out of the last top 7 guys they had last year, Joseph Girard III is the only guy back from the team that won it last year in Class B. So responsibility for him in terms of a scorer and a leader this year, and he's getting a lot of defensive attention. People are, ask me, he must be just, people must not be playing good defense against him. Teams are, totally selling out on their defense against him, and he's still, his ability to make shots, his ability to understand what defenses are trying to do to him, and his teammates setting some great picks for him have really taken off. I think he got upset because they lost to Scotia because since then he's been on a tear, and he's made a lot of foul shots, and last night he made 12 threes as well. So he's doing everything you can ask a high school player to ever do.
James, a lot of people compare Joe Girard III to Jimmer Fredette, but I'm going to ask you, what makes them different basketball players?
Well, I think Jimmer, from a physical standpoint, was a little more mature at a little younger age, but Joseph's really starting to get there as well. I mean, he's 6'2" now, and he's starting to fill out. The weight room stuff starting to kick in. Jimmer played football his junior season, actually was first team All-State, and that really helped get him in shape and sculpt him. Jimmer was a guy that's, I think, from the shooting range, it's hard to believe that, if you think about Joseph Girard, that actually the Jimmer has ranged a little bit more as a younger player, and he had to do things as a younger player with not as many physical gifts as a younger player, and had to be able to excel that way. And he really found a way to do that. Both of them are very similar in the fact that they have a scorer's mentality, but Joseph is a little bit better at this point in his career in terms of getting to the basket and finishing or drawing the contact and getting to the line. Jimmer was good at that too, but he a lot of times there would be games where he would just take the jump shot and he wouldn't always go to the rim. I think Joseph's a little bit ahead of him in that regard at this point in his career, and it's remarkable to think about, back when Jimmer was playing high school a little over 10 years ago, where he was at this point in his career and where Joseph is, and Joseph is just doing some incredible things, and not easy to do, especially when you have a guy like that, and he didn't let the history part of it or the fact that people are always going to compare him. I think he's sort of embraced it and sort of made it a positive for him.
I definitely agree with that. We'll switch gears now, and one story that I feel like hasn't been able to reach the maximum reach is because of Joe Girard is how great Shelmont basketball is this year. I mean, I haven't been able. I've watched one of their games during the first game against Mohan in the Curran Cup, but really just reading about how this team is performing with the two Odells and just the team is meshing together well. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be another Shelmont football team, basically needing that 1 year to grow into the potential team that they will be next year. So where do you see the Shelmont basketball team going forward this season?
It's very interesting. I mean, I think, I've written about the fact that the double A's, I thought last year double A's were wide open, and I think they're even more wide open this year. When you look around the Class B's, and it's not just, McKeel, it's not just Waterville, it's not just Glens Falls, it's teams like Shelmont. And Shelmont lost that first game against Waterville early in the season, and, coming off the football field, and maybe they weren't quite as, in tune where they wanted to be, but they're really playing well right now. I did catch a little bit of the Curvin Cup. Unfortunately, I was covering something else, but I did sneak over to watch a little bit of it, and and really right now they're starting to peak. And when you beat LaSalle the way they did on the road, no less, very impressive. And it's going to make for a very interesting second half. And the Class Bs are going to be just incredible to think about some of the matchups you potentially can get. I mentioned all those teams. I didn't mention, Catskill. Catskill beat Schenectady. Hudson's, won 41 straight games in their league. Did lose a game against Myrtle Perth in the McKeel tournament, but I don't think they can be overlooked as well. They get the right matchup, they're going to be difficult to deal with. You got a couple of the other Class B teams in the Colonial Council that are dangerous on a particular night. So there's a lot of really good teams. I think Shelmont's definitely in the mix, and the way they're playing right now, they have to be considered one of the favorites to get to the end, and it'd be very, very interesting. And I think one thing that's really making them good. You mentioned the two adults. I think really the contributions from so many other players have really been, they've really sort of risen. And it's not just on the offensive end; it's been on the defensive end as well. And I'm sure that that's something that if they continue to do that, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with when we get to the February and beginning of March.
Definitely, and it's coming up quick. And so, looking forward to playoffs. I know we still have a few more weeks of regular season play, but when you look at the Class AA, the Class A, the Class B, and the Class C, which team sticks out to you most that can really make a run in the playoffs? I know there's a lot of teams that you have to just, if you could pick out maybe one or two teams in each section or division where you could really see really making a dent into the playoffs deep.
Well, I'd start at the bottom, and actually the game I'm going to tonight is an Adirondack League matchup with Argyle and Peyton Lufkin, keeping the family tradition going with the third Lufkin brother going to try to get to 2,000 points. Peyton Lufkin's having a really good sophomore year. He's averaging nearly 28 a game. They're playing Lake George, who's ranked #1 in the state. They got to the state final last year in Class C. They're the only undefeated boys team left in our area. And they were already a loaded team with their three top players coming back, and then they added a guy from their JV team, who's 6'7", who's the center, Becker, who's really played well. And they may be one of our best chances now. Hoosick Falls really pushed them in the Glens Falls tournament, and Hoosick Falls got a very deceiving record because they played a lot of teams above Class C, but in Class D and C are certainly ones to keep an eye on. We mentioned all the ones in B. In Class A, I think you have to really look at Mahonison and what they've been able to do. And even though they've lost some games to AA competition, they've really, even some of those low AA losses, they've been very, very close. Interested to see how they do tonight at Colony. Isaiah Moult's on a tear, only 9 points away from 1,000. And Mahonison's a scrappy team, and they got pretty far last year. I think they got sort of their appetite wet a little bit, and I think they'd like to do a little bit better. And we'll see how that plays out. In AA, it's almost like a week-to-week basis on who's going to be good. Bethlehem Valley's ankle injury, kind of put them a little bit behind, but they've bounced back with a couple of wins since then. They hope to have him back in a couple of weeks. Saratoga, got a win over Shad, and they got off to an 0-2 start, but they've been on a roll lately. They're playing Troy tonight. You look at Colony, and you certainly have to always be cognizant of that with Isaiah Mullen, what he can do and how much he can take over a game. Shen may not be as prolific in terms of, don't have a Kerr and may not have the marquee name, but they're a solid team as well. And I think the biggest surprise maybe, not so much that they're going to be good, but just how good they've been as CBA. Younger team, a lot of sophomores last year. Last week with Colony, really gritty effort from them. Signor, King, they're really playing well right now. Wasula, and they've got a big one tonight as well at Shaker. And Shaker's been a up and down team. They've had some struggles early. They went out in Syracuse and won 2 big games out there. They got some size, so it'll be an interesting matchup tonight. But the AA playoffs, so like we said, with the Bs and the AA, I think, are the most wide open fields.
Definitely. And before we wrap up this interview with James Allen from the Times Union, in Section 2 sports for a very long time, and you've seen a lot of games. How long exactly have you been covering Section 2 sports?
Started my first year was the 89-90 season. So 1989 was my first year as a reporter. Got to see some very interesting things. My first road trip was a girls tournament with 7 nationally ranked teams in the top 20 playing at Christ the King, and Troy were the 2 local participants. They were both nationally ranked. Troy had won the state championship the previous year. And Shen was a top 10 team that year. And they had the Barnes twins, Debbie and Laura Barnes. They both were state players of the year. One Gatorade, 1 year Miss New York State. And they both wanted to go to Richmond. And they played Christ the King, who was #1 in the country that year in the final. And almost pulled off a big upset. They were up 13 in the fourth quarter. Wound up going overtime and losing, but that year, and those 2 teams, between them, they had 7 Division I players. So I was fortunate. I got kind of spoiled early on, seeing that kind of level of basketball in Section 2, and Bethlehem had a center that wound up playing at Stanford that year, and she wound up winning a national championship. So I got spoiled at a very young age in the business, and been doing it since.
Wow, awesome. Thank you again, James, for coming on my show tonight. Before I let you go, where can the fans follow you on Twitter to follow along with all the Section 2 sports going forward, the rest of the basketball season and baseball season is right around the corner?
Sidelines are on Twitter, and obviously the Sidelines blog on the PU website. You can follow along, have the rankings and different things, and have weekly rankings for basketball that run on Tuesday and Thursday. Boys on Tuesday. The girls Section 2 rankings, and then obviously I list the state rankings as well, and be out tweeting tonight at the game.
Perfect. Thank you again for coming on my show today.
I appreciate it, Alex. Thanks.
Of course. All right, Feuzion, you just heard it from James Allen from the Times Union here in upstate New York. We talked Joe Girard really beating the records, defying the odds here on 518. We talked Shen, we talked Class B, Class C, Class A, Class AA. We talked it all in Section 2 basketball. I will be going live. Huge week of shows next week. I cannot believe some of the guests we are having on next week. I'm really excited for next week. ESPN baseball reporter Tim Kirchin will be on as well. Tuesday, John Flaherty, former Yankee player and catcher, will be on my show to talk Yankee offseason. And we have many more next week. I am super excited for next week. Thank you for watching this week. Go back, watch all my other episodes. Click the subscribe button right down below. Hit the like button. Hit the share button. Hit the comment button. Let me know what you thought about the show. What do you want to see, Fuse Nation? Thank you again for watching. Be kind to one another, and I will be seeing you very soon. Have a great rest of your weekend.